Alright, what is up, guys? It is Slippy here, and today we're going to talk about the UFC 296 pay-per-view headlined by Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. This is going to be my predictions and breakdown for the fight. Leon Edwards versus Colby Chaos Covington for the welterweight belt. That's the headliner, and man, Colby has really been living up to that nickname this past week. If you guys saw the press conference, you know what I'm talking about. We will get into that a little bit when we talk about the fight, but this is mostly just going to be a video breaking down the fights and who I think is going to win. It's a really stacked card. I'm really excited about it. It took a bit of a hit when Ian Gary fell off the card. He got pneumonia, supposedly. With all the stuff going around about Ian Gary, I wouldn't be surprised if he just kind of ducked out because he didn't want to deal with that press conference and all that pressure. Because, man, there's a lot of weird stuff going on about him, too. But we won't get into that in this video. We're just going to talk about the fights. I'm just going to go over the main card and maybe a couple of the more interesting prelims, but to be honest, the main card is really where it's at on this card. There's a couple good prelims we'll talk about, but we'll start with the main card, and we're gonna start with the main card opener, which was supposed to be Vicente Luque versus Ian Gary, but now it's Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell, and Bryce Mitchell's taking this fight on short notice, so that does influence my my pick here. If this was on a full camp, I'd probably be picking Bryce Mitchell. I'm not very high on Josh Emmett. I think he's pretty overrated. So he's 2-2 in his last 4, but in my opinion, he could very easily be 0-4 in his last 4. So if we go back to his last fight, he got completely dominated by Ilia Topuria. Bryce Mitchell also got pretty well dominated by Ilia Topuria. So that's kind of like something they have in common. But yeah, Josh Emmett got absolutely schooled by Ilia Topuria. He got the brakes beat off of him the whole fight. Really great performance by Ilia Topuria. Prior to that, he got finished pretty quickly. I believe it was the second round. He got submitted by a triangle choke by Yair Rodriguez. Sorry, in the build up to that fight. In the lead up to that triangle choke, though, the whole fight was pretty much Josh Emmett getting pieced up on the feet by the much faster, much more technical Yair Rodriguez. He landed a couple good shots, but for the most part, he got pretty well handled. Before that, he fought Calvin Kattar. He got a split decision victory over him, but I'd say like 80% of people that watched that fight, including me, thought Calvin Kattar won. I thought he clearly won because Josh Emmett just landed on the gloves over and over again. He basically got the decision because he looked more aggressive and he looked more active. He was throwing with these big, wide hooks the whole fight. They were all bouncing off Kattar's gloves. Kattar was totally fine the entire fight. He was sticking the jab and the 1-2 in Emmett's face the whole fight. He even landed a spinning elbow at one point. If you look at their face after the fight, Emmett looks like he took more damage. The fights are based off damage. Kattar landed more. He landed cleaner. He should have won the fight, in my opinion. And then before that, Emmett fought Dan Ige, and I don't think that was a split. That might have been unanimous. It could have been split. I don't remember exactly, but he dropped Ige in the first round. He won the first round off that, and then pretty clearly got outstruck in the next 2 rounds. I thought it was very clear, to be honest. I don't know how they gave that fight to Josh Emmett. So in my opinion, he's 0-4 in his last 4 fights, not 2-2. I think he's always been very overrated because he is scary looking and he has big power. Short, super muscly, possibly on roids. Bryce Mitchell, on the other hand, I think Bryce Mitchell, his striking's not that great. His grappling is really good. He's very good at controlling people, but he wasn't really able to do much against Ilia Topuria. That could just be that Ilia Topuria is an amazing anti-wrestler, and he's got good wrestling himself. Bryce Mitchell has some pretty slick submission skills, but for the most part, he goes for control. He'll control people really well. He absolutely dominated Edson Barboza. My worry for him in this fight is he's not like immune to getting knocked out. He gets hurt in fights. He got hurt really bad by Ilia Topuria. And Josh Emmett hits really hard, and I don't like Bryce Mitchell striking that much, especially on short notice. I don't trust that his timing is all going to be there. I do think he's going to get caught by Josh Emmett at some point and probably get put away. I am going to go with Josh Emmett by like a second round TKO. Probably going to drop him, get on top of him, and pound his face out for a finish. But don't be surprised if Bryce Mitchell is able to latch on to Josh Emmett, push him against the cage, kind of dirty box him, wear him down, and win a decision that way. Maybe even get on top of him and submit him. I could see that happening, but I am going to go with Josh Emmett by second round TKO. Moving up the card, Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett. Oh boy. People keep saying that this is like the fight that Tony could win because Paddy Pimblett, everybody says Paddy Pimblett is bottom of the barrel. He's like one of the worst lightweights on the roster, and I get it. He didn't look good in his last fight against Jared Gordon. But he did have a foot injury, I believe. Like in the first round of the fight, I think he messed up his foot. And he lost the fight, clearly, even though he was given the win. But Jared Gordon's not like bottom of the barrel lightweight. He's not one of the best lightweights at all. But he had a pretty good performance against Bobby Green before getting headbutted and knocked out that way. If you guys remember, he was winning the fight against Bobby Green. And I think we all think pretty highly of Bobby Green's skills, especially on the feet. And Jared Gordon was doing good. So looking back on it, maybe losing a striking match to Jared Gordon doesn't make you bottom of the barrel. It just makes you mid to low tier lightweight, which is still better than what Tony Ferguson is right now. Because Tony Ferguson is a corpse at this point, okay? He has nothing to offer, I don't think, anymore. Like, if you go through his losing streak, he's on a 6-fight losing streak. Gaethje took his will, I feel like. He took his spirit. And then Oliveira took his arm with that nasty armbar. I bet that arm has, like permanent damage. And then Dariush took his leg. Permanent damage, I would bet, from that leg lock. Chandler took his head and punted it through the field goal. And then Bobby Green and Nate Diaz have both choked him out. So, sorry. I got like a burp coming up, but it's not, I can't burp. I'm trying, but it's not working. Anyways, I don't think Tony has anything to offer Paddy Pimblett at this point. I don't think his skills are there anymore. His defense isn't there. He has some decent power. He was able to kind of drop Bobby Green off balance, and he dropped Chandler off balance. He didn't really hurt either of them. But Paddy Pimblett has a pretty good chin, let's be honest. He eats some good shots. Dude has a chin. He keeps it up in the air, so like maybe there's going to be an uppercut open for Tony like he landed on Gaethje. That could happen. But there it is. I don't trust him to win really any area of this fight. I think if Paddy Pimblett just goes in there and goes crazy and blitzes Tony, I bet he'll overpower him and finish him early. I don't see Tony getting out of this fight. I don't see him getting out of the second round, to be honest. I don't think this will go to a decision. What I think is going to happen is Paddy's going to be way bigger and way stronger against an old, diminished corpse of Tony Ferguson, and he's going to muscle him to the ground and choke him out. I don't see this going any other way. I'm going Paddy Pimblett by like first round submission. So yeah, sorry Tony. Moving up the card, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Stephen Thompson. If this stays on the feet, I think this will be a really competitive, really good fight, and Stephen Thompson could outpoint him. Problem is, I don't think Shavkat's an idiot. I think it won't stay on the feet. I think he'll test the striking for a while, and maybe for the first round. He doesn't move his head a lot. He might eat some good shots from Wonderboy. Wonderboy doesn't have like crazy knockout power, so I don't think he's got a chance of just chinning Rakhmonov, who ate shots off Jeff Neal like it was candy. The dude doesn't move his head hardly at all. His defense isn't all there, but he does have a great chin. He has nasty power, and he has a 100% finish rate. Okay, he's finished every single one of his opponents. And he's got good grappling, and he's either going to catch Wonderboy at some point and put him down, like Kevin Holland was able to put Wonderboy down, but Kevin Holland wouldn't go to the ground with him. He had this agreement where they were just going to stand and bang the whole time, and you don't want to do that with Wonderboy. Shavkat, if he puts him down, he'll go to the ground and he'll finish him there. I don't see any way Wonderboy wins this fight unless he happens to land like the perfect head kick at the perfect moment. But I don't trust that to happen. He gets taken down too easily at this point in his career. And he gets held down way too easily. He doesn't seem to be able to get back up anymore. He has good submission defense against guys like Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad. I'm not expecting Shavkat to get a submission, though. I'm expecting him to get him down and beat his face in and finish him inside the distance. I think he'll test the striking for most of the first round, though. So I think I'm going to go with another second round TKO. I think he's going to take him down in the second. I think he'll take him down at the end of the first and hurt him. And then I think pretty quick into the second he'll take him down. And once he gets him down, I think it's a wrap. It'll take a couple minutes on the ground. And I think he'll get top mount and he'll pound his face in and the fight will be over. So yeah, I'm going Shavkat Rakhmonov. Second round TKO from ground and pound. Next up, Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Royval. Sleeper fight, by the way. Anybody that's not excited about this fight, I don't know what's wrong with you. Pantoja had a super exciting fight against Moreno in his last one, and Royval is a psycho and has amazing fights. Every time he goes out there, win or lose, he's just really fun to watch because he throws caution to the wind and he goes nuts. But I think that's going to be his downfall in this fight, just like it kind of was in the first fight. He has weird striking and he's really squirrely on the ground. He's really hard to get a hold of and control early. So I see the first round being really competitive. I think I could even see Royval winning the first round, just doing crazy stuff, scrambling out of bad positions and landing some good shots. Probably like spinning back fists, spinning elbows, flying knees, going for elbows and knees in the clinch. He's going to do a lot of weird stuff, I think. I could see him getting put down and then just throwing a crazy amount of up kicks to make sure Pantoja doesn't get on him. Pantoja goes to the ground with him. Royval's probably going to try to throw up as many submissions as he can and elbow him off the bottom and stuff and try to squirrel out of it. But eventually, I think he's going to go too crazy and expose himself, and Pantoja will get his back. And I think when he gets his back, he'll either ride out the rest of the round for every single round, or he'll choke him out. I believe the first time they fought, Pantoja got a submission. I'm pretty sure it was a submission, and I think that'll probably happen again in this fight. I think it'll take a while. I do think Royval should last a while. I think Royval has a really good gas tank, but since he goes so crazy, he's not really built for 5 rounds. I don't think he's ever gone 5 rounds in his career, even when he was on the regional scene. So yeah, I see a pretty competitive first round where Royval's fresh and he's just going nuts and landing good shots, and maybe he edges out the first round 10-9. And then from that point on, I think Pantoja's going to take over. He's going to have just a really good chin. He's going to be scrappy on the feet. He's not as good of a striker as Royval. Jeez, what's wrong with me? But eventually he's going to get him down. And I think in the later rounds when Royval's tired out a little from being too crazy early on, Pantoja will get his back, and I think he'll choke him out. I'm going to go Alexander Pantoja by 4th round, rear naked choke submission. Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe pick. If you're going to bet on it, I would go Pantoja by submission. He finished Royval the first time. He went to a close decision with Moreno, and he's gone to a decision before with Figgy. And I don't think Royval's on either of those guys' level. So yeah, Pantoja, 4th round submission. Moving up, Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. Okay. I have been really back and forth on this fight. I haven't really known who to pick. For a while, I was thinking Leon Edwards was probably going to just outpoint him on the feet and stuff the takedowns. But Colby Covington, he has a very aggressive style of wrestling. I've seen MMA Joey talk about this fight and say that Edwards beat Usman twice, and he's just he's a more powerful version of Colby. I don't think that's giving Colby enough credit. Usman is more powerful, and they're both very good wrestlers. They're very similar, I get it. But in their wrestling style, I think Colby's a more dangerous wrestler. Maybe not more dangerous. I'm not saying he's going to get more finishes than Usman, because that's just not true. He's not the biggest finisher. But he has a very relentless style of wrestling. When Usman goes for a takedown, if he doesn't get it, he'll kind of just push you against the cage or he'll disengage. If Colby goes for a takedown and he doesn't get it right away, he's going to continue to chain wrestle, or he's going to back off and then shoot another one right away. And then he'll shoot another one, and then he'll shoot another one. And in the press conference, if you saw it, Colby said something. He said, "I'm going to drag you to the 7th layer, down to the 7th layer of hell. And maybe we'll say hi to your dad while we're down there," or something like that. Because Leon Edwards' dad is dead, and he was murdered for something gang related. I guess he was in some sort of a gang. Anyways, Colby said that his dad's in hell, and they're gonna say hi to him or whatever. And that got a huge reaction out of Leon, and Leon was clearly very angry to the point where he's shaking in his seat, and he's super mad at the stare downs. And also at the stare down, he said "Hey, keep that same energy when you're in my face. Say it to my face." And Colby said, "I'm gonna shoot takedowns on you, and I'm gonna whisper it in your ear every time," or something like that. And if he does that, which is super low, I'm a Colby fan, but that was too low. I think that was too far. You just shouldn't talk about people's dead family members. But if he actually does that, I wouldn't be surprised if Leon gets really emotional in this fight. And I could see Leon like going too hard early and kind of blowing his wad. And you don't want to do that against Colby, because if you get tired against Colby, he won't get tired. He never does. His gas tank is probably the best in the UFC. Um, and I think if Leon does that, which at this point is pretty likely, I feel like, he's going to probably drown him. He's just going to out-grapple him. He's not going to stop shooting takedowns. He's not going to stop throwing his shots on the feet, his kind of pitter-patter shots as he, marauds in and then gets those takedowns. And I think he will get some of those takedowns. And when he gets Leon down, I also think Colby's a little better at actually keeping people on the ground than Usman. Usman's better at keeping people against the cage and stuff, but Colby, especially in his last fight against Masvidal, Masvidal has very underrated takedown defense and submission defense, and Colby was able to hold him down and grind him out for most of that fight. So I do think I'm going to go with Colby Covington by decision in this fight. I'm not confident in it because I do think Leon is very good. And Colby Covington's been out for a while, so we never know how good he's going to look. I always get worried when Colby's out for a long time because I'm like, he's been out, he's going to have ring rust. But he never seems to have ring rust outside of maybe the second Usman fight. But I think that was him being more nervous about Usman's power. In the Masvidal fight, he looked great, and he'd been out for a little bit, but he looked great. And it seems like every time he comes back, he does look better. He's getting a little older, but I think I'm going to trust him to win the decision and finally get that belt, and then hopefully he'll actually defend it and be active. I'm not confident in that, but I think he'll be a little more active if he wins the belt. I also wouldn't be surprised. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this, but I wouldn't be too surprised if he tones down the bad guy act if he becomes champion. Maybe if he becomes champion, he'll kind of go back to being like normal Colby Covington. If you guys remember Colby Covington before like the Damian Maia fight, when he was much more soft-spoken and calm and not controversial at all. I don't think he'll go all the way back to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he toned down the character at least a bit. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Colby Covington by decision, like 48-47 or 49-46. I think Leon Edwards is going to have success. I think Colby Covington is going to struggle with him on the feet, but I think he'll be able to wear Leon down and grind him out for that decision. So yeah, that's that one. Any good prelims to talk about? There is Cody Garbrandt versus Brian Kelleher. That should be a fun fight. This is just them trying to get Cody another win. I think they're just trying to get Cody a knockout because they tried to give him a layup with his last fight against, I think, Trevin Jones, and he looked good. He looked very defensively aware. People were expecting him to get a knockout in that fight, and they kind of said it was boring and like it wasn't a good performance. I don't want Cody Garbrandt to have exciting fights anymore. If he has an exciting fight, I'm just going to be worried about it because that's how he gets knocked out. So I do think he'll be able to knock out Brian Kelleher at this point in Kelleher's career. Kelleher doesn't seem as fast as he used to be. He doesn't have the power that he used to. He has pretty good timing on his shots. He could catch Cody coming in, but I think Cody's pretty much just more skilled everywhere, and he could resort to wrestling if he needs to. But I think Cody should probably be able to get like a first-round knockout in that fight. I think that's what they made that fight for. What other ones? Tagir Ulanbekov versus Cody Durden should be really good. I think Cody Durden's a really underrated wrestler. He's kind of like a small Colby Covington, to be honest. I could see him grinding out Tagir, but Tagir is also a very good grappler. Could get a submission on Cody Durden, maybe like a guillotine or something if Cody shoots a sloppy takedown. Yeah, there's some good fights on here. It's a bummer that the Ian Gary fight fell out against Vicente Luque. I was looking forward to it. I'm sure they'll just rebook it for 297 or something, which would be awesome because having Ian Gary at the same press conference as Sean Strickland sounds amazing. But yeah, so that's the card. Those are my predictions. Colby Covington, decision win. Don't bet on it because I'm not confident in that pick. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of the video in the comments. If you liked it, then hit the like button. If you could subscribe, that would be cool. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.